The Association for Savings and Investment SA, which represents the majority of insurance companies in the country, has released its annual death claims statistics. They show that over 1 million policyholders passed away from April 2020 to March of this year. That's an increase of 309,733 lives lost from the previous 12 months. The COVID-19 pandemic is the leading cause of those deaths, we're told. But according to the Health Department, some 82,000 South Africans, we're gearing up to the 83,000 mark, have succumbed to the virus so far. Let's unpack those numbers for you. Hennie de Villiers is the Deputy Chair of Asisa's Life and Risk Board Committee. He joins us now via our video link in Cape Town. Hennie, good morning. Thanks very much for coming on to the program. I mean, obviously, the one thing that stands out from these numbers is the number of people who, according to the Health Department, have died of COVID-19 versus the number of claims your insurers have lodged also due to COVID-19.
Good morning, Michelle. Yes, I think the way to look at the difference is that the numbers quoted by Asisa are not policy or people, individual people passing away, but are death claims.
Okay.
And it's across the category of individual life policies, funeral policies, group life schemes, as well as credit life. So
right.
An individual might have had a store account that's got credit life on it, as well as be a member of a scheme, a group life scheme, and have an individual policy, for example.
Okay, so that makes sense then. If it's one person who has up to however many policies, and that person passes away, it's the number of policies that we're looking at the moment. So that's over. I mean, I'm still confused because the death claim statistics show that over 1 million policyholders passed away. So are you saying it's over 1 million claims that have been made?
It's 1 million claims. And unfortunately, because these are aggregated stats across insurers, Asisa doesn't get the detail down to an individual identification number. So we don't have a way of matching these to understand how many unique individuals have passed away. So it is a policyholder on a specific policy that have passed away, but that policyholder might have had 3, 4, 5 policies.
Okay, I see. So the previous point that you made does actually stand insofar as one policyholder having a number of policies. So that doesn't mean that that particular number of people have passed away as a result of COVID-19. So let's talk about the no doubt massive claims insofar as these payouts are concerned, Hennie. How do companies prepare to pay out such a large amount of claims in such a short period of time? Is there a pandemic clause in how they prepare?
Well, Michelle, I guess this is where we have to look at what our regulator does as well. And an insurance company, by its nature, have to prepare to pay a claim many years in the future. So a key thing for an insurer is to make sure that it keeps enough reserves, that it's got enough capital to withstand events like these. And this is an event that is supposed to happen once in every 100 years or so. So it's very difficult to say how we've prepared specifically. It is more a case of, over many years, have we built up enough reserves in each company and have we held enough capital to be able to pay these claims? And thankfully, we have. So the regulator requires a certain minimum capital requirement. It's called the solvency capital requirement. And the industry as a whole, as on average, is holding twice that amount as capital. So they are very well capitalized for events like these.
In your experience over the past almost 2 years now, Hennie, as people come to grips with what this pandemic might mean for them and their loved ones, and they try to plan for the future, are you also seeing a lot more policies being initiated?
Anecdotally, yes, we are. It is not a groundswell, if I can put it that way. Perhaps also because of the pandemic and the lockdowns that went with it, as it had a significant economic impact. So initially we saw many clients that actually were not able to sustain their policies and unfortunately had to lapse it, or the insurers provided some bridging for them. But this year, definitely, we are seeing a very good recovery. and hopefully it bodes well for the future as well. I do think that in people's own priority list, having a life policy to look after their dependents is definitely gone up in their list of priorities. They might not always have the economic means, unfortunately, to actually do it.
Insofar as the insurance companies that you represent are concerned, when they are getting applications for new policies now in the midst of COVID-19, are there things that are there exclusions or conditions that exist now in some policies that didn't exist pre-COVID-19?
Obviously, it's difficult to say that there is none of that because it's a large range of insurers, and obviously it's a competitive environment as well. But in general, there are no exclusions relative to COVID. So definitely on an existing policy, not at all. In terms of the new policies, we do see that insurers are looking at their underwriting requirements. In some cases, for example, they would say if a person has had COVID just now or actually has COVID, they would postpone that application for a while. So you would find those types of things. And I think most insurers are probably looking at their underwriting rules just in terms of, so what is the premium that they should charge? So there could be those types of events happening, but very limited exclusions in total.
I mean, paying claims out at a time like this in the midst of a pandemic where someone has lost a loved one very unexpectedly, you know, the last thing that they need is to have to fight with an insurer. Insofar as the payouts are concerned, are you able to comment on, you know, the smoothness of the operation in the past 2 years in the paying out of these benefits, no matter what the policy might be?
Yes. So I think firstly we should recognize that it is a traumatic event in the extreme for everyone involved. Loved one that's passed away, that might have caused severe economic distress as well. Unfortunately, it did coincide with the lockdown, so suddenly insurers had to make plans to work remotely. And the number of claims, just if you look at the numbers, are way more than anybody has anticipated or planned for before. So in general, you would have experienced, unfortunately, service levels being under pressure, so periods might have taken a little bit longer. But in terms of paying out the claims, in actual fact, I mean, the statistics are still that more than 99% of claims that are lodged are actually paid. So no issue around whether a claim will be paid or not. It might have just have taken a little bit longer. And
just a final comment from you, Hennie, as I try to get the numbers right around the headline of this particular story as we're covering it, we should be saying over 1 million policies have been cashed out over the period April 2020 to March of this year.
Indeed, it is 1 million claims and 1 million policyholders on individual policies that died, but not 1 million individual or unique individuals.
Right, got you. Hennie de Villiers, thanks very much for your time this morning on some incredibly important perspective around the pandemic. In fact, the number there is 1,023,083 policies that have been cashed out over the period April 2020 to March of this year. In fact, 47 billion rand in benefits paid out during this 12-month period.